The stellar wind hummed with the steady rhythm of a ship in deep space, its corridors alive with the soft glow of bioluminescent panels and the distant thrum of the quantum drive. Engineer Lyra Dane crouched beneath the primary coolant exchanger in Bay 3, her hands slick with synthetic lubricant, a diagnostic scanner clutched between her teeth. On her back, secured by a makeshift harness fashioned from cargo netting and thermal blankets, rode Tavi the Cub, a Canary predator from the forest moon of Varath 7, chirped softly and gnawed on a lock of Lyra's dark hair. His needle-sharp teeth hadn't yet grown their venom sacs, but the drool was impressive nonetheless. "Tavi, that's attached," Lyra muttered around the scanner, reaching back blindly to redirect the cub's attention to the chew toy dangling from her belt. Tavi ignored her completely and continued his assault on her ponytail. First Officer Quellen, a towering Vrexian with 4 eyes and skin like polished obsidian, passed by the bay's entrance. His gaze swept over the scene, human engineer, predator cub, coolant leak, and he simply nodded once before continuing down the corridor. He'd learned weeks ago that addressing the situation only made things more complicated. The crew of the Stellar Wind had developed an unspoken agreement. They would pretend not to see. It had started 3 months ago during a routine supply stop on Varath 7. The away team had discovered the cub alone in the burned ruins of a settlement, his mother and pack dead from a territorial dispute with a rival clan. Canary cubs didn't survive alone. Their biology demanded constant warmth, their psychology required pack bonds, and their appetites needed careful management. Captain Thross, a pragmatic Centaurian with blue-silver scales, had been clear. "We leave it. We're not a rescue vessel, and that thing will grow into 200 kilos of muscle and fangs." Lyra had nodded, agreed even. Then she'd walked back to the ship with Tavi hidden inside her jacket. For the first week she'd kept him in her quarters, sneaking food from the galley and rigging a heating pad from spare engine components. But Tavi had cried a haunting, warbling sound that echoed through the ventilation system and made the Vrexian security officers check their weapons nervously. The crying stopped when Lyra brought him to engineering. Tavi thrived in the hot, noisy chaos of the engine room. He slept during Lyra's shifts, lulled by the vibrations of the power core. He played with stripped wire and discarded bolts. And when Lyra worked in tight spaces, beneath consoles, inside access tunnels, behind plasma conduits, Tavi rode on her back, content and quiet. The crew noticed, of course. It was impossible not to. Ensign Perrick, a nervous Colossian with too many limbs and not enough courage, had nearly fainted the first time he saw Tavi's golden eyes gleaming from Lyra's backpack during a staff meeting. But when no one else reacted, he'd simply closed his mandibles and looked away. Dr. Yana, the ship's Tyrellian medic, had raised one elegant eyebrow during Lyra's routine physical when Tavi had crawled out from under the examination table and attempted to hunt the doctor's stethoscope. "I see you've acquired a parasite," Yana had said dryly. "He's been dewormed," Lyra replied without missing a beat. "I meant you're his parasite. You're the host organism he's attached to." Same thing. Yana had made a note in Lyra's file and said nothing more, but it was in engineering where the unspoken conspiracy truly flourished. Chief Engineer Morvax, a gruff 6-armed Haxian who'd seen 3 wars and 2 civil collapses, had initially threatened to report Lyra to the captain. Then Tavi had climbed onto Morvax's tool cart and organized his scattered hydrospanners by size, chirping proudly. Morvax now kept a bowl of protein cubes in his office, for inventory purposes. Today, Lyra finished recalibrating the exchanger and crawled backward out of the maintenance shaft, her jumpsuit smeared with coolant and her hair sticking up at odd angles. Tavi purred, a sound like distant thunder, and kneaded her shoulders with his paws. "Good work, little terror," she murmured, reaching back to scratch behind his tufted ears. "Dane." Lyra froze. That voice belonged to Captain Thross. She turned slowly, standing up and brushing coolant from her knees. The captain stood in the doorway of Bay 3, his scales reflecting the blue emergency lighting. His expression was unreadable. "Captain," Lyra said carefully. Thross's eyes flicked to Tavi, who had poked his head over Lyra's shoulder and was staring at the captain with unblinking curiosity. For a long moment, neither human nor Centaurian spoke. Then Thross sighed. a sound like wind through tall grass. The stellar wind will dock at Varath 7 in 6 weeks for our return supply run, he said quietly. I expect your equipment will be ready for transfer to the wildlife rehabilitation facility there. Lyra's jaw tightened. Sir, that's an order, engineer. Thros turned to leave, then paused. And Dane? The crew's discretion has been noted in my logs. Don't make me regret it. He left without waiting for a response. Lyra stood in the empty bay, her throat tight. Tavi chirped questioningly and nibbled on her ear. 6 weeks. She had 6 weeks. Behind her, the coolant system ticked as it stabilized. The stellar wind sailed on through the dark between stars, carrying its crew of pretenders and one small, impossible secret that grew larger every day. Lyra returned to her work. Tavi dozed on her back, warm and trusting, and throughout the ship the crew continued to see nothing at all.